episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hello and welcome to Mind Hostage. I want to thank you for tuning in to the fourth and final episode of our interview with Karla Soloman. Karla has graciously shared her story from birth through becoming a victim of the human trafficking industry and how she found her purpose in life through her adversity. So guys, I want to thank you again for tuning in. Hope you enjoy this final episode.
He's sent me one more text message. And that text message was probably the hardest thing and the scariest I've ever dealt with. He told me, he said, if you don't come back, I'm taking your daughter and I'm going to do the same thing to her. My baby girl was 5. She had barely started school. He even had somebody in Baton Rouge drive over to my mother-in-law's house and videotape them driving down that street and stopping at the exact place that my baby gets on and off the school bus. I was scared that he was going to do something to my daughter. I don't know what it was, but something told me that I needed to tell my husband. Because we had been isolated from each other this whole time, and Fat had my phone a lot of the time, so when my husband would text, he was getting messages back from Fat, not from me. Fat even went as far to tell him is that I was working a job at Holiday Inn and I worked overnights, and that I wasn't allowed to have a phone at night so that he wouldn't call all night long. So, because there was a lot of times that my husband would be calling my phone and it would interrupt his business, and he didn't like that. So I screenshot all of these messages, all of it, videos, everything. I screenshot it, not the business part of it, but everything that was communicated by him to me about my daughter. I screenshot all of it and I send it to my husband and I call him and I tell him everything that's going on. And he asked me, he's like, who are you with? And I was like, I don't know his name. I know him as Fat. My husband immediately flipped his shit. Immediately. My husband went to school with this man. Elementary school. Wow. All the way through high school. My husband's brother and him were friends growing up. Like best friends. I never even knew it. When I told my husband who I was with, he told me, Karla, you don't have to tell me anymore. I know exactly what's going on. How do you know? He knew everything that Fat was about, everything. All of it. I had no clue. I did now, obviously, because I had lived it. But before that, I had no clue. He was my Prince Charming when I first met him. You know? Quickly I learned that not every prince is charming. So, I didn't know at the time, but I told my husband, this is the last thing I told him. I said, look, I'm going back because I have to protect my daughter. It's like, keep her safe. And I honestly thought that was the last time I was going to talk to my husband. I called Fat and I told him, I said, okay, fine. Where are you? I'm coming back. And he said, where are you at? How far away from the hotel are you? And I GPS'd it, and it said that I was 16 minutes away. But I was crying. Or no, it said 14. But I was crying, so I told him 16 minutes. Because I wanted to have 2 minutes to myself to sit in my car and cry. And I told him 16 minutes, and he said, no, you're lying. You're 14 minutes away. He said, if you're not here in 14 minutes, that's it. So I couldn't help it, but as soon as I hung up the phone, like I had makeup on, you know, because I had to stay fully in makeup and heels all the time. So I turned the rearview mirror to fix my makeup. And I let out the most horrifying scream because I didn't recognize the own reflection staring back at me. I didn't even recognize myself in the mirror. I didn't.
Because of the mileage that you had seen, or because he had beat you, or what were you seeing at that minute?
I wasn't seeing Karla.
Mm-hmm.
My face didn't look like her. My eyes, nothing. My cheeks were all sunken in because I had lost so much weight. Obviously, the bruises were there still. I didn't recognize the girl staring back at me. And that terrified me. Because I remember one of my friends telling me on one of her meth binges, when she had took off, she told me that's what made her change. Was when she looked in the mirror and no longer recognized who she was. And that scared me because I was trying to get away from it. But now, because of the situation, I had no choice but to go back, so I knew it was about to get 10 times worse. And I didn't think that I was going to survive it. So I go back. My quota went from $1,500 a day to $2,500 a day. I was not allowed to say no to anything. I was not allowed to turn anybody down, no matter what.
Let me ask you really quick. Because I hear the quota, but to myself and the listeners, what does that mean in terms of the volume?
So, you know, I mentioned earlier about the little lettering and stuff on the ads.
Uh-huh.
So, those mean different things. So, PSE, that's porn star experience. For 150 roses, that's telling you $150 for 15 minutes of a porn star experience. That includes anal sex, blowjobs, or with a condom. GFE is girlfriend experience. That means no condom, no regulations. But all the kissing and cuddling and stuff like that is involved with that. That costs about $200, if not more, for 30 minutes. So you can add this up. I've done it myself many times. Or if you're willing to endure the fetishes, the physical harm, wax burnt on top of your boobs and things like this, $500 for an hour and 30 minutes to do whatever you want. So it's not a question of how much people will pay. The question is, how much are you willing to endure to make that quota?
Pretty sick people.
Yeah, you're telling me. So, I didn't know, but my husband reached out to the police. And because my mother lives here in Kerrville now, and has for some time, she reached out to the local police, the sheriff's office here. Sergeant Eli Garcia was the one that responded to the call, and he was the one that reached out to all of his different resources that he had, because the text messages and everything that I had sent to my husband, and the fact that my mom was very adamant about telling him, no, I talk to my daughter every couple of days. We will stay on the phone for like an hour and 30 minutes just running our mouth. It went from that to me not making a phone call at all. And then if she would call me, he would text her back, oh, I'm busy at work, I can't talk right now. My mom was like, that's not my daughter. Even though my mom and I had had a rocky relationship, whenever me and my husband moved back here, we tried to develop some type of mother-daughter relationship. Right. And we really ended up getting pretty close. I would probably say more as friends, but it's still, the closeness is there. You know, she likes to talk, I like to talk, and we both would just get on the phone and talk until, just hours. But I didn't do that anymore.
So how much time has transpired from then when you met this guy till now?
From the time I had met him until then was probably about 2 months.
Okay.
The time from when he started forcing me to work for him to the time that I was actually rescued was roughly 42 days.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom reached out to the police, so did my husband. They started working together to try to find out where I'm at. And I'm in College Station, so 3 days before I was rescued, I'm sitting in the bathtub because my downstairs areas are very swollen and painful, and I was certain that I had STDs. I know the difference of normal and not normal. So I've got broken ribs. I weigh about 100 pounds. Like when I laid down in the bathtub and sat back up, I could feel every single indentation in my spine. I was that skinny. So I'm sitting in this hot water because that was like the only thing that would soothe me, is sitting in hot water to the point I came out looking like a lobster, like hot water. So I would sit there and I would take inventory of my things. And for people that don't know what that is, when somebody has been or is being traumatized, especially in this manner, you take inventory of what you have, because that's the only thing that belongs to you, and that's the only thing that you can decide of whether you want to keep it or not, or, put it here, put it there. That's the only thing you have in your life that you make that decision. You get what I mean? That's the only thing that belongs to you that they haven't taken from you.
When you mean your things, do you mean your valuables, or whatever your possessions
your
are?
Possessions.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Whether that be hygiene products, clothes, shoes, whatever.
Okay.
So that's what I'm taking inventory of. And I'm digging into all my stuff. And, mind you, I've been with this guy for a while now. And he's already went through all of my purse and belongings and everything, taken anything of value. Money. He's got my credit card. He's got my driver's license. He even has my social security card, my kids' social security cards, Even my husband's, I believe. Like, because it was all in my stuff. He took all my jewelry, my wedding ring, everything. So I'm sitting in the bathtub and I'm digging through my stuff and I come across this necklace. And from the time I came home to now, I've never taken this necklace off.
Now, for the listeners that can't see right now, you're holding in your hand a large silver crucifix.
Yes.
A cross.
And it has the Lord's Prayer etched into it. It looks like a page ripped out of the Bible. I'd given this cross years ago to my husband when we got married. It's probably our 1-year anniversary. I got him this. When my daughter was young, probably about 4 years old, so about a year before all of this was going on, my daughter used to wake up, like out of the blue, out of nowhere, when we were staying at my mother-in-law's house. She would wake up in the middle of the night. There was one time she just sat straight up in bed and looked over at me and my husband, and she said, "He's going to get you. That man's going to get you." It freaked me out. There was other times that she would wake up just screaming, like sitting up in bed screaming, pointing to the closet. I'm like, "Baby, what's wrong? What's wrong? What are you scared of? There's nothing there." She said, that man is in the closet." Never knew what any of it meant. So, sitting in the bathtub, or that night, the last night that my daughter did this cross used to hang on a chain by our light switch in the bedroom. And I took it off of the little hook that it was on, and I put it on her, and I said, "Baby, look, I'm going to tell you something." I said, "This is a cross. And you know what a cross is." She was 4. We had been to church, maybe not all the time, but, she'd known who God was, who Jesus was, and everything, from a child's perspective anyway. And I told her, I was like, "Baby, as long as God is with you, no evil can ever come against you." I said, "They can't touch you because they're not allowed to. You're His." I was honestly just telling her all of this to comfort her.
Mm-hmm.
Little did I know, my daughter was trying to warn me. When Fat first made me start doing all this, to make sure that I did it right and did it the way he wanted me to, and didn't try to escape at the beginning before it got bad, he would hide in the closet and watch me. So when I found this cross, I had to be quiet, but I started crying. And that was probably the first time out of that whole ordeal that I prayed. And I didn't even really pray. It wasn't even really a prayer. I didn't say amen. I didn't say, "Oh, Holy Father." No, I didn't say nothing. I said, "God, I can't take this anymore." I looked up at the ceiling just like this and I said, "I can't take it anymore." Three days later, I'm walking out of the hotel because he had called me and he told me, "Let's go. Get your stuff, let's go." And I'm walking out of the hotel, and we were on the ground floor, and my room was right next to the side entrance door, so I didn't have to walk past the front desk ever. So he had parked right outside, and I grabbed my backpacks and my little purse that I had and the other little shopping bag I had with clothes in it, and I almost walked out by the back entrance. There was a sliding glass door out to the pool, and it was all fenced in, but there was a little opening in the fence that you could push from the inside to go out. And I almost went out that way. And I don't know why, But right as I pushed that gate open, something told me to no, go in and go out the other way. I don't know if it was my mind telling me like, well, what if he gets mad if you go out that way? You know, or what, like, I don't know what it is, I don't know what made me stop from going out that way. But I stopped. And instead I went back in the room and went out the regular door and down the hallway. And as soon as I got to the door, I hear people calling my real name. But it didn't click. Like, it took me a minute. When he posted that ad that day, at the top of the ad it said Alexia the Australian Princess. So from that point on, he didn't call me Karla. My name was Alexia. So these people behind me are calling me Karla Soloman, stop. And it took me a minute to even realize, oh my God, they're talking to me. So I had walked out the little door and on the side of entrance of the hotel, and all these people surrounded me. And this guy, I remember his name was Cody, and I'll never forget him because that's my older brother's name, but that's also he works for Bryan Police Department, I believe, or investigator, I'm not really sure. But he gets down in my face and he said, Karla Soloman, are you okay? And I remember like it all hit me like all at the same time. And I looked up at him, and all at the same time, like I drop all my bags and I just collapse on the floor outside on the hot concrete. And I told him, I was like, you guys have no idea, you just saved my life. Right about that time that I said that, I looked up and he was sitting in my car right there watching everything. And Cody seen me look up at him, and I wouldn't take my eyes off of him. And Officer Cody said, stop that car. Stop that man. Do not let him out of this parking lot. So they ended up arresting him for a possession of marijuana charge. They couldn't exactly, they had all of the information to build a case or, to charge him with other things, but that takes time and manpower to actually pull it all together to say, hey, I do have enough information here to convict him for A, B, C, D, and E.
But it was enough to put him in the jail.
Exactly. So they arrested him for the marijuana, which he got out the next day. And I was so scared. But the police told me, they were like, don't worry about it, Karla. We got everything we need. We got fingerprints. We know what he looks like. That's all we need. We got his name. And up until that point, I didn't even know his real name. His name is Herman Henry Fox. I had no clue. So they take me down to the hospital, and I had broken ribs, STDs, very emaciated, addicted to methamphetamine, and I was traumatized. I honestly thought to the point of no return. I did not think in a million years I was ever going to recover from that. I didn't. Right now, I can sit here and I can look at you in the face. When all of this happened and I'm at the hospital, I seriously sat. Even though I had broken ribs, I would force myself to put my head completely in my lap like this, and I would cover my face to where I couldn't see anything other than the darkness of my knees. And I would cry, and I would shake uncontrollably. I could not sit still. Even if I was just sitting here talking to you, I would not be able to look you in the face. And I would sit here and like my whole body would tremble like a leaf in the wind. Like it would not stop. My friend even told me one time, she was like, Karla, when I first met you, she was like, you shook and trembled so much that even your eyes would shake.
Wow.
I was so on that hyper, what is it called? My reaction senses itself was extremely high.
Like a hypervigilance.
That's it. Hypervigilance. That's the word I was looking for. It was like times 100. I couldn't sleep at night. I was scared to go to sleep because I was scared of my own mind.
Mm-hmm.
My mind, because of the mixture of the drugs, the trauma, and everything going on, a lot of my memory after I came off the drugs just wasn't there. And a lot of it still isn't.
Well, I can imagine you had a lot of positive thoughts go through your head at that point. I mean, given your life up to that point, given your experiences, like where do you draw positivity from if you've never learned how to have a positive, if you've never experienced positivity? So
Yeah.
I imagine that many of those thoughts were very dark and very negative.
Very. Yeah, to the point that I attempted suicide. I had came home August 2016, and and I hid in the house. Like, I would not leave my house, period. I'm not going outside. I'm not checking the mail. I'm not walking the kids to the school bus. I'm not doing none of it. That man was on the run. And
so he still wasn't back in jail?
He had bonded out on the marijuana charge.
Yeah.
And they were getting everything together to actually charge him with the other two charges.
I mean, I tell you, don't worry, but you never know when he's coming around the corner.
Exactly. And I honestly thought that he was looking for me. I was scared that I was going to walk out the front door and he would be right there waiting for me in my same white car that got repossessed.
Well, not just him, but you still had other people looking
There was
for
other
you, too.
people that and I still had the whole rap group looking for me. I mean, so it was insane. But I hid in the house. I wouldn't leave. I was scared. I thought he was coming to get me. I thought he was trying to... I mean, my mind thought up all kinds of craziness. And then when it was time for my daughter to go to school, that was hard.
You still worry about her getting snagged,
Exactly.
right? Yep.
Exactly. So my mom forces me to go up to the school with her because I had to sign them in and everything. But I didn't have any school clothes and stuff for my kids. My husband was the only one working. We had just moved here. We're restarting all over again for like the 5th time now. And, I couldn't work. It was impossible. It wasn't happening. It just was not happening. And it wasn't by choice. I couldn't even wake up in the morning and not cry brushing my teeth.
Mm-hmm.
I could not do normal activities. I could not go grocery shopping. I could not go put gas in the car. Just things that people would think are so simple seem like such an impossible task for me to get done. So I just stopped trying. Like, I couldn't. I was so scared because every time I would think, all right, my mom said I need to go get milk and I need to go get this. My mom would drive all the way from Center Point, all the way 20 miles out this way to pick me up, to take me to the little store that was 2 minutes from my house, just so I wasn't alone.
Mm.
And it started little bit by little bit like that. But just knowing that she's coming that day to come and get me to take me grocery shopping,
I
couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
Hmm.
Like, it would cripple me. And then that's just the trauma that I was dealing with right at that moment. Not to mention when I would try to go to sleep. I don't know how to explain it. I was scared of my own dreams. I was scared of my own mind. My subconscious mind was able to go nuts when I was asleep. So during the day, a lot of things, like I was able to nope, we're not going there. Not going down that rabbit hole. Nope, we're not. I don't even want to think about that right now. I was able to sort of what I thought control it.
You're just suppressing it.
Exactly. I'm just suppressing it for later. But that's exactly what happened. So I would go to sleep and I'd have all these really messed up dreams. Like, oh my goodness. And trauma does some really messed up things to your brain, because I would wake up sometimes fighting. I would wake up sometimes just crying and out of breath. And then there was other times that I don't quite understand. I would wake up like touching myself sexually. And that was beyond disturbing to me. I don't know why my brain would even, you know what I mean? Like,
right,
it just, that was so disturbing to me. That was probably one of the hardest things for me to get over at that point.
Right.
You know, like, why is my body responding to something that is so insane? Like, so what?
Something you were
did not
repulsed by at that
exactly,
point, yeah.
and it's like my body itself was having a completely different response, and I didn't understand it. And I thought that part of myself, obviously I blamed myself at first for being in that situation. But then when dreams like that started happening, it made me entertain the thought of, well, maybe I wanted it.
Right. So you had guilt and shame and fear and doubts and all those things running through your head constantly.
Constantly. It would not stop. I didn't know how to make it stop. I didn't know if it would ever stop. And I didn't think it was. So October of 2017, I attempted suicide. The mental health people had put me on a lot of anxiety medication and stuff like that. And one of them was Xanax. Same thing I had struggled with for years. And when they gave it to me, I wasn't going to say no. They thought I needed it. It was a doctor, right? I wasn't going to be honest and tell them that I had an addiction problem in the past to it. No. Why? You know? So I had been on the pills and obviously abusing them. So that probably didn't help either with me hiding in the house and isolating myself and the memories and the rabbit holes and all that. It probably made it a whole lot worse than it could have been, than it would have been without the medication and without the added crap added because I abused those pills. So I decided to end it one day in October, and I had just gotten my medication filled, and there was like 60 pills in the bottle. And I took them all, swallowed the whole bottle. And I put my phone in front of me. I looked at the time and I was like, all right, about 20 minutes. I'm just going to fall asleep, nod off like my mom does, and be done with this. And it wasn't that I wanted my life to end. I wanted the freaking memories to stop. It was so hard. A lot of people think that, wow, you know, you survived all that. For what, though? Just to come home and be a broken person that can't even leave the house? Like, it didn't.
Especially at a time when you can't stop the pain. I mean, because, you know, what people see and what lies inside are two different things.
Yeah. So, I'm waiting for the 20 minutes to pass, and this girl, I had reached out when my kids needed to go to school to some victim services people in town. They connected me with, they didn't even connect me at first. They reached out and got people to donate clothes and shoes and things like that. And I ended up wanting to reach out to the person because the lady that brought me all the clothes and shoes and everything for my kids, I was like, oh my God, people gave so much. She said, no, it's just one lady. There's like 5 boxes of stuff full. Brand new clothes, school supplies, everything my kids possibly needed was in these boxes. The lady didn't even know me. She didn't know my name. She didn't know nothing. And I had told the lady I reached out to, I said, well, can I have her phone number? Like, I just want to say thank you. And so I told her thank you, and, you know, she came and talked to me a couple of times, this lady, and she had tried to get me to go back to church. I'd went once with her. Just wasn't really sure, you know, I was still kind of not really cool with being around a lot of people, just everything, it was too much. So I'm sitting there waiting, and I'm looking at my phone, and about 6 or 7 minutes have passed, 7 minutes or so, and my phone rings, and it's this lady. I'm like, what does she want? I answer the phone, and she was like, what did you do? I looked around my room, like, this lady done put a camera in my room. Like, she watched me. She seen what I did. And I felt so convicted that I thought she already knew. So I told her. I told her about, she really didn't know much of my story, of who I was or what had happened to me or nothing. She knows that I was a very broken person, that some really horrific things had happened to me, and that I was extremely traumatized. That's all she really knew. So I proceeded to tell her that, you know, I was a victim of, I guess, I didn't even know it was called sex trafficking back then, probably. But I told her, you know, that all this stuff that had happened to me, and then I told her, I was like, and, you know, it's fine though, because I just took my whole bottle of Xanax, and, you know, I'm ready to be done with this. I was so okay with being done. And this crazy lady, and I can call her that now because she's now my best friend, but this crazy lady, instead of calling 911 and saying that this girl's done OD'd on pills or no. This lady starts praying over the phone with me. And I'm not talking about those meek little quiet closet prayers that, you know, oh, holy art and that. No, indeed. This woman sounded like a true warrior of God. I have seen this woman's prayers move mountains, not just in my own life, but in other people's lives. This woman started praying with me, or praying for me. I wasn't even really praying. I was just listening to all of it. But I was in agreement with everything that she was saying. And she got very passionate about her prayers. Like, she was close to yelling in the phone. Like, she was so just like, God, you can't, this is not going to happen. I mean, it was so amazing. I can't even remember anything she said. It was just fire. Holy fire fell on me. I ended up crying into the carpet, face down in the carpet. I completely just surrendered my whole life, my memories, everything that was breaking me. Everything I felt like I couldn't deal with. I recommitted my life to God that day. And I laid it all at His feet. Every bit of it. I do a lot of talks now, and that's the part where I usually tell people that I tried to throw the towel in that day. And God threw it back in my face and said, no, girl, you got work to do. Because, man, And I never felt the effects of the pills.
And that was that?
That was that.
Wow.
Like,
That's nuts.
I did not. Normally, I could take 1, 2, if I'm abusing them, 2 or 3 of these pills and be knocked out like my mom used to be. You know, nodding off and stuff with cigarettes in my hands. I didn't feel nothing.
On a whole bottle?
A whole bottle. I swear to you, I felt nothing. My husband watched me swallow the bottle. So, the next day, you guys got it so good. The next day, I left the house by myself. I went and got a job. Went to work the day after that. Made $133 in tips the first day. I was a waitress.
Nice.
You know, like...
Just all of a sudden, from that moment when she prayed over you and you had that change, everything changed for you.
Everything. I'm not going to say that it got easier right away, because it didn't.
Oh, that's not how it works.
It didn't. It really didn't. It was very gradual over time, you know. But I like to use the analogy of like an onion, you know. The first step is getting the outside of it off.
Right.
You know. And I feel like that's what I did when I gave my life back to God. It was like I handed him the raw onion of myself. And he knows I've been traumatized. So he knows that I got a lot in there that I really struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
But God is very gentle and loving. And he cares about me. He cares about me personally, so much so that he peels back all of that crap like layers of an onion. Just a little bit at a time.
Wow.
And it's like every time he peels off another layer, I know that I got to get ready for more. Because he calls me deeper each and every time that I deal with something. But on the flip side to that, every time I deal with something, like trigger or whatever, it might have been whatever. When I actually face that and I deal with it and I lay it at his feet and I say, you know what? I speak truth over that. That was not my fault. I did not ask for that. I did not ask to be a troubled child or a slut or anything else that these people labeled me as. I am a child of God. I am first, not last. You know, I am the head, not the tail. I would just completely go off speaking out loud over myself. God's grace is enough. I mean, and then my very, very, very favorite verse in the Bible that I would use whenever I would start to feel all these traumatic things come on me, like when I'd go down that rabbit hole, I would start repeating to myself, God has not given me a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. God has not given me a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And I would get more direct every single time I would say it. And guess what? Somehow or another, the memories just kind of, it's like, you're talking to God's like, you're talking about what? Because it ain't there.
It just fell away.
It's there that I remember it.
Right.
Yes, I'm not ever going to forget none of that. But at the same time, I'm okay with it. It happened, but it happened with purpose at the end.
So you feel through this now that you found your purpose in life?
I might not claim that I've found my full purpose nor potential in life, because I'm constantly growing and I'm constantly finding out more and more is being revealed to me just about every single day. But I will tell you this. Purpose, yes. Called, extremely. He has called me to this area, not for myself and not for my own personal healing, but for someone else. And even if it's just that one person, I'm fine with that. Because I know how it feels to feel like you don't have anybody. And I just want to be that one safe place for one person. I want to be able to love these people that are going through the same shit that I've been through. Because I know how it feels, and I know how lost people can. It's easy to get lost. It's easy to feel like you're not seen. It's easy to just chalk it all up to I feel so alone. But you're not. Look at all the crap I've been through. You know, and I'm a work in progress still. You know, I still deal with stuff every single day. You know, just like I was telling you about with my brother. You know, me and my brother aren't seeing eye to eye, and he called me some really mean names. But, you know, I can only not really take control, but I can only control what I allow to define me.
And that's a very powerful statement that a lot of people miss, is that we respond to the outside world. We respond to what other people think or say, or we respond to how we see ourselves in that. But in the end, the only thing we are truly in control of is how we think.
That's right.
And it all begins with how we think and how we respond. Any spiritual growth, any personal growth begins there. Yeah. And so the growth is in the journey.
Yeah. So, a little bit after, you know, me working and all that kind of stuff, I was approached by someone that wanted me to do a speaking thing. They wanted me to share my story. And I still wasn't okay, like, really. He was still on the run. He had made the top 10 Texas Most Wanted list for compelling prostitution by force and human trafficking of a person, which those sentences both carry, I think, up to 20 years each, something like that. So he was still on the run. And, you know, I was stumbling but finding my way, you know. So I agreed to do the speaking engagement, and that was kind of the start of a lot. I don't know why I felt like I needed to do that, but I did it, and it was powerful. It was extremely powerful, and not only powerful for the audience that heard it, but it was so healing and freeing for me, because I was able to share with other people what I had been through. And instead of them treating me like the girls back in high school and pointing their fingers and calling me a slut and all of these hateful things, these people are crying with me, you know, telling me how brave I am, how strong I am, how much of a warrior I am, and that how God is going to use me to do great things for his kingdom, and like all of these amazing things people are telling me, which I had never experienced this before. So all these people are like just pouring so much love into me, and I'd never known how that even felt, much less a real friendship, you know? I mean, it was so transforming in my life to be surrounded by people like that all of a sudden. So I started like really getting into church, and you know, I am missing church. People, I have a special seat on the front row. Don't nobody sit in my chair, because guess what? Karla will come kick you out of her chair. Awesome. Just so you know. But you know, like, and it's not just going to church. I pray all day long, right, through every single thing that I do, whether that be cleaning a house, whether that be speaking on stage, whether that be ministering to another girl that's trying to fight her way out of the same situation, which I do every day. But So, I mean, I that's where it kind of started for me, actually having a platform, you know. But my faith grew stronger, and grew so much closer. I grew so much closer to God. I started realizing things. Like, I started seeing things that I wasn't, you know, I normally didn't see, like, back from the past. Like, I could look back at my past and be like, wait a minute. I didn't ask for that. I was 12 years old. How in the world? No, you know, like, the truth started shining its light on the darkness in my life from the past all the way on up. So, like I said, like an onion, little by little, I've been dealing with things, especially like a lot of the childhood stuff that I haven't dealt with. That sometimes is what hurts more than the adult stuff that I've already dealt with. But I'll tell you how cool God is. So I was, and the reason I'm saying this is because prayers can really move mountains. When you pray, meditate, whatever you call it, when you have that spiritual time, that meditation, and you pour your heart out, it does something, like something just shifts. I feel it every time, you know, especially when it's those crying into the floor, like, just, I can't, like, because where you can't, he can. And it took me a minute to figure that out, but I'm going to tell you how I figured that out. They finally caught him December of 2017. They found him in Murray, Kentucky. December 11th was the day he was caught. December 7th, I spoke at an event. We did this little event here in town for our ministry. We were trying to raise funds to open up our own safe house for girls one day. So I spoke at this event, and me and my friend were talking that night. Like, after the event was done, we're cleaning up and everything, and she was like, they're going to find him. I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, they're going to find him. And this is the same girl, the crazy lady that was praying on the phone with me. And I'm like, girl, you tripping. Like, don't even. Don't get me down that road right now. She's like, no. She's like, I am telling you. I guarantee it. She was like, Karla, in the next couple of days, I swear to you, they're going to call you and they're going to tell you that they have him. Sure enough, on the 11th, this was the 7th. On the 11th, they called me. Karla, we found him in Murray, Kentucky. You said what? They're like, we got him. He's going to be extradited from Kentucky back to Texas. She was like, and then we'll get together and we'll go from there. Okay. I didn't have to look over my shoulder anymore.
That had to be some kind of a feeling.
It was so relieving at that moment to know that he was off the street. He couldn't hurt me. He couldn't hurt my baby girl. That was amazing. So about 2 months after that, they're getting us ready for, a year and 2 months after that.
Oh, wow.
A year and 2 months after that, trial's coming. I had already, we started our own ministry during that year. We were working on getting a house ready to take in adults, survivors of trafficking, women, girls that were just like me. So we're getting all this stuff ready, and I'm trying to get ready for trial. And so me and my friend, Che, we started the same crazy lady, Che. We're doing Bible study every Tuesday morning at her house. Me, her, and her sister-in-law, which is also my very good friend, Tanya. So we're all doing Bible studies, just us three. Like, we did not want a group. We just wanted us three because we were just that close to each other. Mm-hmm. So we're doing Bible study, and we're at Chay's house in the living room, and it was Tuesday. And I was so scared because I thought I was fixing to have to face him in trial. And this was before they explained to me, like, oh, Karla, you wouldn't have been in the same room with him, because of the victims, this and that, whatever. But my fear was that I was going to get in the courtroom, or I was going to get there, even if it was in a different room, and that I was going to cower down.
Mm. Yeah, I bet the thought of facing him.
I did not want him to know he broke me to being less than, because that's what I felt like I was. So, in Chay's living room after Bible study, we all get together and we pray about whatever we're asking God for. You know, we thank God and ask Him and everything. Just whatever's on your heart. And once again, guys, I wasn't even really praying. I just told God, I was like, look, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can face him. So if you could just put it on his heart to take responsibility for what he has done. That's all I said. And you know, prayer usually wraps up a Bible study, so I was leaving. I was on my way to work. And I was probably no more than 3 or 4 minutes out of her driveway. And I got that phone call. That fast. I swear to God. I was driving to work right after that, and the DA called me and said, Karla, about 20 minutes ago, he took the plea offer. 30 years. No parole.
Wow.
I mean, that fast. I got to work. I had to pull over. I completely lost it. That was probably the most relieving. Oh, man, I didn't have to see him. I didn't have to worry about it. I didn't have to, all the what ifs. What if he doesn't get convicted? What if he gets let back out? What if he comes after me and my family? You could not imagine all the what ifs that I was going through. And, yeah. They were like, you don't even need to be here. He's signing tomorrow. They were like, you can be here if you want to, but you don't have to. I was like, no, I'm not coming.
I'm good.
I'm good. I'm going to sit right here. Y'all call me when it's done. And sure enough, the special agent, Juan Aguilera, that works for the FBI, he called me right after it was done. And he was like, it's over, Karla. It's over.
Sweet music to your ears, huh? Well, Karla, you have shared quite an ordeal.
lot.
Wow, you've shared quite an ordeal. And I know, that the journey continues.
Yeah.
But, having shared your story, the passion that you have, and using your walk that in a way now to help other people with a purpose, to give back. I just want to kind of end with a couple things that I think are pretty important for somebody listening right now that you're able to connect with. If you were able to talk to any young girl right now that's having trouble at home, maybe thinking about running away, going on their own, or anything like that, what one piece of advice would you give them right now that would have the biggest impact on them?
You're not alone. I know how it feels. You may think that you have nowhere to go or nobody that cares, but there are people out here that devote their whole entire lives, just like I do now, because of the same reason, because they have been there before, and they know how it feels, and they have purpose and calling through God to help that exact child, adult, male, female, whatever, that exact person. I always thought that I never had anywhere to go. I always thought that it was my fault. And I always thought that nobody would ever love me, nobody cares. Sometimes I still entertain those feelings, like I'm not going to lie, you know? But it all goes back to what is really true, you know? And for me, that's what, you know, that's God's promises, is what my truth is. That's what makes me shift the focus. But there are so many organizations out there that their main focus is the people that think that they have nobody else, especially kids. There's a lot of the majority of sex trafficking victims are runaways and foster kids. Kids. 15 years old. The average age, I think, for trafficking right now is 13 in the state of Texas. 13 years old. So, a lot of these girls, you know, there's a lot of news interviews and podcasts and things that I've done out there, and you know, I put my real name on all of that. That's okay. I'm okay with that, you know, and it's not what all of anybody else thinks about me. It's what God thinks about me, and that's all that really matters, and what I think about me. But a lot of people, they think that now I'm labeled as the human trafficking survivor. So what? Did you catch that little part at the end? Survivor. I survived all of that. And not only did I survive it, but now on the flip side, I'm thriving because of it.
I call you warrior. I think you're a warrior.
My email is godswarriorprincess3 at Gmail. I've had many people, kids, adults, kids as young as 13 to the adults, a lady over at the age of 54 years old, contact me personally because they just don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes all you need is that one person that you can that will listen to you. Sometimes all you need is that one person believing in you. One person. So all the people that haven't been through things, I encourage you to be that one person to someone that has. And to all the people that have been through it and they know how it feels, what better a person to be put in these kids' lives, because you came through hell and you're still standing.
That's powerful. Now, Karla, I'm going to flip the script for a minute on this.
Sure.
I ask you what you'd say to a young girl right now, and you gave a very, very powerful advice.
I forgot the question. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay, because I'm going to hit you with another one.
Okay.
This industry is driven by men, primarily.
Primarily, yes.
So if you had an opportunity right now to talk to just a regular man like myself, that in some way at some time in the future feels like, for whatever reason, they have a need to, contribute to this industry, to engage in prostitution in any way, what would you say to them?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Something a lot of people get very wrong is the fact that today, prostitution itself is virtually non-existent. And I'm going to tell you why. I have personally seen and witnessed pimps hunting down these girls, making appointments with them, fake appointments and all this kind of stuff, just so they can beat them up, to tell them, you need my protection. So the whole time that I was with this guy, and the whole time whenever I was a child, that was not prostitution. That basically does not exist anymore. It falls under human trafficking. The real definition for human trafficking is a person using force, fraud, or coercion to obtain some kind of personal gain for themselves by manipulating someone else to do either forced labor, commercial sex, slavery type things. This is modern day slavery. I can tell you that a lot of men have asked me when they'd first meet me. Now, you don't have some dude sitting in the parking lot, or you don't have a pimp, right? You're out here doing this on your own. Every single one of these girls are coached into saying whatever story their pimp makes up. For me personally, it was, oh no, I'm going to college and I do this to put myself through school. Or when we travel to Colorado, oh no, I'm on tour. I'm on tour and I just do this to have spending money. There's so many lies that these men coach these girls into saying. And they intentionally lie to these men because the truth of the matter is, the man sitting in front of you that's trying to buy you is not the threat. That's not the threat. The threat is the one hiding in the closet, making sure that you make Mr. Moneypants happy. The real threat is a man sitting in the parking lot watching your every move. The man sitting in the parking lot that ends up rolling M&Ms up underneath the door when you tell him you're hungry and he don't want to feed you. This is very real. And for those men, what makes it okay in your mind that says sex is just the same as buying a washer and dryer? Why would you even want to buy something like that? Like, I understand people have personal needs. I get that. Sex is supposed to be something that was sacred between one man and one woman when they get married. How did it all of a sudden turn into something you could basically buy at the supermarket and throw it away when you're done? Is that how you would like people to treat your wife or your daughter? It's the truth.
That's powerful. Thank you for sharing that. I'd like to end, if you wouldn't mind, let our listeners know that anybody who may want to get involved in helping in this particular industry, or somebody who's in need, would you leave us with some resources, maybe some websites that people can visit?
Oh yeah. So if you're in danger and you need immediate services, whether you're adult, child, it does not matter. There is a text line. You can text HELP to 233-733, and that's all across the United States, and I believe all the way across the board. I'm not sure about international, but that you can text HELP to 233-733, and it puts you in contact directly with all of this data that they collect from this text number. Everything, all the services that are provided, all goes through Homeland Security and also the FBI. So if you're needing to report something, you can text HELP to that. You can, if you need to get out of a bad situation, you can text HELP to that number, or you can call the Polaris hotline, which is 1-888-373-7888. and that also, they both kind of work together. But that is for like immediate needs for someone that's out there that is wanting help. Now, I personally am, I'm on like 3 different boards and a panel. I'm the survivor leader for Roy Moss Youth Alternative out of San Antonio, which is the first ever of its kind in the whole United States drop-in center, emergency drop-in center for runaway youth. And they serve ages 5 to 24. And yes, they have had a 5-year-old sex trafficking survivor come through that center, 5 years old. They call me very frequently. When they have a survivor, a kid that comes in and they bottle up and they don't want to talk, they call me. They're like, oh, you need to call Karla. She can get through. So I work with those guys very closely, and that's Roy Moss Youth Alternative in San Antonio. They're also the same people that are putting up the Quick Trip Safe Place. I don't know if you've ever seen the little signs or anything. It says Safe Place outside of the Quick Trip gas stations along the freeways. So what those are designed to do is if you are in any kind of danger, whether that be kidnapping, abuse of any kind, trafficking, whatever, you see one of those signs, you run inside and tell any person working there, they are trained, they know what they are doing. If you tell them, I need a safe place to go, there is a hidden room in that store, okay, that they will take you to hide you until the police show up. All right.
That's awesome.
So a lot of people don't know that. That is a very amazing way to try and work with. We are trying to get more across the state and eventually like nationwide. We would like to be able to have places like this everywhere, especially along those main highways and stuff, because that's where a lot of the actual traveling comes in. So I also work with an international organization that Christine Kane founded. She's an amazing woman. But she has what's called A21. And we have the Freedom Chasers branch out of San Antonio, and I'm on the board of directors for that also. Their focus a lot over here is more on the awareness, although they do have rescue, restoration, restoring, etc. They have programs. They've got all kinds of ways that you can help and raise awareness. And then in the little bitty town of Kerrville, me and my best friend, we started our own little ministry here, and that's called Mercygate Ministries. And our website is mercygateministries.com. You can get on there. There's pictures of me, so you can put a face to a name or whatever. And my story is on there, very short version. But we are doing fundraising. We have Operation Freedom campaign going on right now. We just opened our first safe house that houses women 18 and older that have been, it's not just trafficking, it's basically any kind of abuse. Sexual, mental, emotional, physical, addiction, domestic violence, etc. We kind of open the door for just about anything, because a lot of the issue that we are seeing is that a lot of people, I myself included, never realized that I identify as a trafficking survivor. You get what I mean? A lot of people don't know that's what's happening. They just know, oh, well, he's hitting me and he's making me sleep with all of his friends. So a lot of people don't really identify as trafficking. So that's why we kind of open the doors for any kind of abuse. And then if you would like to reach out to me directly, Karla Soloman with a K on Facebook. I got bright red hair in memory of the girl that I have no idea what happened to. And once I figure that out, I'll stop dyeing my hair red. But I don't know. I kind of like it red, though. But yeah, Karla Soloman on Facebook. A lot of people have reached out to me personally. Not just for a, hey, you're amazing, you're brave, or anything like that. I've had a great number of people reach out to me for help. And if that's what you need, I can totally point you in the right direction.
That's awesome. Karla, thank you so much for everything you do and for being the warrior that you are and for being on the show.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I want to thank Karla for opening herself up and really laying herself bare in an effort to bring attention to this horrific industry. Guys, you have an opportunity to really pay attention to what's going on in this industry and how it affects so many people. Unfortunately, it's driven by predators, it's driven by demand, and it's driven by people looking the other way. We cannot bury our heads in the sand and make these kind of problems go away. So it takes each of us, you and I, paying attention, spreading information, and really talking about it, having discussions about this. If you know somebody who may be a victim of this industry, please reach out to these organizations that can help the victims. I want to thank you guys and look forward to having you tune in to our next episode of Mind Hostage.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. It would mean the world to us if you could head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our podcast and achieve even greater things. Thank you.